the leisure tourism revenue from our neighbouring countries is not great. A lot of it is tourism for other purposes. So I do think we need to engage our neighbouring countries, but that would, for me, be more about how the inbound tourist comes into the region and how they are handled. Many tourists coming into this part of the world do not do a one destination holiday. They're doing multi-destinations. They're using Joburg predominantly as a hub, Cape Town increasingly, and indeed other airports in the region. So one of the things we are engaging in is speaking to our regional colleagues to try and at least get a uniform set of protocols so that you don't have to chop and change depending on what country you come from. But turning to which source markets we should be looking at, I think in one of the real guiding factors, as I say, will be how these countries themselves are managing the pandemic. And without, being too pointed about it, Brazil is probably the country that's doing the worst job on the planet at the moment. The cases and the way they're doing it. So to my mind, it wouldn't be in the front of the queue of a market that we would seek to go to. I think that you need to monitor each country. We need to have a look at it. And 76% of our overseas arrivals prior to the crisis came from North America and Europe. So that's where our existing business is. I think there's massive opportunity in India and China, but collectively those two countries prior to this crisis only accounted for 7% of our arrivals. So, in terms of, basically filling up beds and filling up the sort of volume, you've got to look to your more traditional markets. And as I say, we've got to do it on a case-by-case basis. I think a particularly interesting part of the world to look at would be New Zealand and Australia from an outbound perspective, because I think that they've managed the crisis well. And little known fact that Australia was our 6th biggest overseas market prior to the sort of crisis. So that might be an interesting test case to have a look at. We were also sort of part of our strategy putting forward a phased approach. So we don't just open ourselves willy-nilly, but that we choose one, maybe two initial markets and pilot that for a month. And then after that, extend it and open it up to several more markets and really do it in a phased and an orderly way. There are many elements to this crisis. I mean, we've been dealing with trying to keep businesses afloat, looking at tours and UIF support. We've put a lot of effort into the protocols. We've been involved in the recovery strategy. So one of the things we're doing this week is an entirely private sector centric issue, and that is entitled, "How do we reimagine the value chain?" So what this crisis has really done is called into question how the traditional value chain operates. There have been incredible pressure points around issues around cancellation fees, deposits. Should we have some form of upfront insurance, and generally how all these issues articulate together, given that we've got a value chain that extends from a retail travel agent in source market, maybe an outbound tour operator, through to inbound DMCs, and then product in the ground. And then thrown into the mixes, we have direct sellers and OTAs as well. But the upshot is that if we're not able to reinvent ourselves in a way that gives the prospective traveller comfort that they can come to South Africa, and that their booking will be sacred, so to speak, that if something goes wrong, they'll be able to get their funds back, but that they also be able to book easily and just have the comfort of having a safe holiday. So we've got it's just becoming a site of competitiveness.